Let me tell you something that nobody has had the courage to say out loud yet. Something that will change how you see everything that just happened to you. While you were breaking apart in private, while you were holding yourself together with whatever strength you had left, while you were wondering if anyone even noticed what it was costing you to keep going. Something in the spiritual realm was taking notes. Not the casual kind of observation where someone glances in your direction and moves on. I am talking about the kind of attention that stops everything else. The kind that creates a record that cannot be erased, cannot be revised, cannot be undone by time or circumstance. What happened to you in that season, the one you barely talk about because nobody would understand it anyway? The one where you learned what your breaking point actually looks like and somehow didn't break. That wasn't just you surviving. That was you passing a test that most people will never even see in their entire lives, let alone be asked to take. And here is what makes this message different from every other word of encouragement you have heard. Every other attempt someone made to tell you it is all going to work out. I am not here to tell you it is going to get easier. I am not here to promise you that the hard seasons are over or that smooth roads are coming. I am here to tell you what was already written down about you, what was already recorded in the books that matter, while you thought absolutely no one was paying attention. God didn't just watch you go through it. He wasn't casually aware that you were struggling. He was genuinely astonished by how you went through it. Stay with me on that word, astonished, because I need you to feel the full weight of what I am saying. In the original Greek language, it is thomazo. It is the reaction that happens when something exceeds the standard that was set for it. When the one observing is genuinely moved, genuinely surprised, genuinely impacted by what they are witnessing. That is not me trying to encourage you. That is not me attempting to make you feel better about a hard season. That is an accurate report of what actually happened in the unseen realm while you were just trying to make it to tomorrow, while you were just trying to get through one more day without falling completely apart. Now, I want to find you exactly where you are before we go any further. Because if this message is going to land the way it needs to land, I need to meet you in the exact place you are standing right now. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that rest doesn't fix. Not the physical tiredness that sleep can reach. Not the kind of fatigue that a weekend away or a good night's rest can touch. I am talking about something underneath that. Something that lives deeper than your body, deeper than your emotions. Something you have learned to function around because the world doesn't make space for it, and you still have responsibilities that don't care how tired you are. You have been carrying a weight that you stopped trying to explain months ago, maybe even years ago, because every single time you attempted to put it into words, every time you tried to help someone understand what you were actually going through, one of two things happened. Either the person listening minimized it, told you it wasn't that bad, reminded you of all the people who have it worse, or they gave you advice that completely missed the point and made you feel even more alone than you did before you said anything. So you went quiet with it. You learned to carry it in silence. You learned to function with it, to smile through it, to show up despite it. And that quiet, that specific choice to stop performing your pain for an audience that clearly wasn't equipped to witness it properly, that is exactly where this message begins. You stayed in situations that earned your exit 100 times over. You kept your composure in moments when rage would have been completely justified, when anyone else would have understood if you had lost it, if you had finally said everything you had been holding back. You showed up for people who forgot you existed until they needed something from you. People who only remembered your name when they had a problem only you could solve. You held on in seasons where letting go would have made complete and total sense to anyone watching from the outside, where walking away would have actually been the reasonable thing to do. And through all of it, through every moment of restraint, through every choice to stay when leaving was available, through every instance of showing up when you had every excuse not to, there was almost no acknowledgement. Almost no one saw it. Almost no one said, "Thank you." Almost no one recognized what it was costing you, not because what you were doing wasn't worth seeing, not because you weren't important enough to notice, but because what you were actually doing, the real work that was happening in you and through you, was operating at a frequency that human observation isn't built to detect. It was happening at a level that most people's eyes are not calibrated to see. Most people only see outcomes. Most people only notice results. Most people only pay attention to what shows up on the surface. But what you were doing was happening underneath all of that, in the invisible places where real formation occurs. I see it now. I am looking right at it. And more importantly, infinitely more importantly, the one who actually matters, the one whose opinion is the only one that carries eternal weight, he saw every single moment of it. Before I tell you what was recorded, before I give you the specific details of what God saw when he was watching you, I need to name something first. I need to identify something that I know is true about you. Because people who have been carrying what you have been carrying, people who have been through what you have been through, they experience a very particular set of things. These aren't random symptoms. These aren't coincidences. These are markers, signs that you have been in a season of deep formation. And if even 2 or 3 of these land, if even a couple of these resonate with what you have been experiencing, I want you to drop a comment below. Just let me know, because I want to confirm that I am talking to exactly the right people, that this message is finding the ones it was meant to find. The first thing is a heaviness with absolutely no medical explanation, not depression in a clinical sense, not an illness that a doctor can diagnose or a pill can fix. I am talking about something more like being tired at the level of your skeleton, at the level of your bones, a weariness that sleep doesn't touch, that a full 8 hours doesn't reach, that vacation doesn't fix, that a complete change of scenery doesn't solve. You wake up in the morning already carrying it. You open your eyes and it is already there. This weight that you cannot quite name, but that you absolutely feel. And it is not weakness. Let me be very clear about this. It is not a character flaw. It is not you being dramatic. It is not you being unable to handle life. It is what happens when someone is holding something at a weight that was never designed for solo carrying, when someone is bearing a load that was meant to be distributed but ended up on one set of shoulders. The second thing is emotional weather that moves through you without any kind of forecast, without any warning you can predict. You will be at peace in one moment, genuinely okay, genuinely stable, and then grief will show up in the next moment with no clear trigger. Hope that you cannot explain, that doesn't match your circumstances, that has no logical reason to exist, followed immediately by sadness with no identifiable source. You cannot point to what caused it. You cannot trace it back to a specific event. It is just there. People around you, well-meaning people who care about you, they might have a diagnosis that doesn't quite fit. They might suggest therapy or medication, and those things might even help to some degree. But somewhere deep down, you know it is not that. You know this is something different. It is something moving through you that is searching for resolution, something that is trying to find where it is supposed to land, something that hasn't discovered its resting place yet. The third thing is that your tolerance has fundamentally changed in ways that are hard to explain to people who haven't been through what you have been through. Conversations you could sit through 2 years ago, discussions you could participate in without any problem. They now drain you the second they start. Someone opens their mouth to complain about something trivial, and you can feel your energy leaving your body. Spaces that used to feel normal, environments that used to be comfortable, they now feel suffocating. The air feels thick. The walls feel like they are closing in. You haven't become difficult. You haven't turned into some impossible person who cannot be pleased. You have become discerning. Your internal calibration has shifted. You can sense what is real and what is performance. You can feel what has substance and what is just noise. And that discernment, that new level of awareness, it costs something when the world around you hasn't shifted at the same pace you have, when everyone else is still operating at the frequency you have outgrown. And the fourth thing, the one that is probably the hardest to put into words, the one that feels the most intangible, is a deep and quiet knowing. Not knowledge you can defend in an argument, not certainty you can prove with evidence, not something you can pull out and show someone to make them understand. Just this unshakable sense, this bone-deep awareness that this season, as brutal as it has been, as painful as it has been, as confusing as it has been, means something, that it is not random, that it is not purposeless, that it is not just bad luck or unfortunate timing, that there is something running underneath all the pain, underneath all the confusion, underneath all the unanswered questions, a purpose you cannot see clearly yet, but that you have refused to stop trusting. A plan that hasn't revealed itself fully, but that you somehow know is there. Every single one of those signs, every single one of those experiences isn't evidence that something is wrong with you. It is not proof that you are broken beyond repair. It is not confirmation that you failed somehow. It is evidence that something is being formed in you. It is proof that you are in the middle of a process that has purpose, that has direction, that has an end point you cannot see yet, but that absolutely exists. And I am asking you, I am genuinely asking you to stay with me through this entire message, through every word from here to the end, because what unfolds from this point forward, it builds on itself. The specific things God witnessed when he was watching you, the standard he was holding you against, that has absolutely nothing to do with human metrics or human opinions. The identity that is already being declared over you, whether you feel it yet or not, all of it builds on what came before it. None of it lands with full impact if you check out halfway through. If you are going to pause this video, if you need to step away for a minute, at least hit that save button first. At least bookmark this. At least make sure you can find your way back. Because I promise you, this is the message you are going to need to come back to when the next hard season shows up. This is the one you will need to hear again when doubt starts whispering that maybe it was all for nothing. This is the perspective that will anchor you when circumstances try to convince you that God wasn't paying attention. Now, here is what I need you to understand, what I absolutely need you to grasp about how God was watching you in that season. Most people know, at least intellectually, that God sees everything. They have heard it in church, they have read it in scripture. They understand at a basic level that God is omniscient, that nothing escapes his notice, that he is aware of every sparrow that falls and every hair on your head. That is all true, that is all accurate theology. But there is a distinction that most people never hear, a nuance that rarely gets taught, and it is the distinction that changes absolutely everything about this conversation, about this message, about what I am about to tell you. There is a difference, a profound difference, between God's awareness and God's attention. Awareness is comprehensive. Awareness is constant. Awareness is the way someone who built something knows every single detail of what they created, every component, every system, every potential outcome. It is always there. It never turns off. It is the baseline of how God relates to everything that exists. But attention is something completely different. Attention is what happens when something causes the builder to stop what he is doing. Attention is what happens when something makes the creator set everything else down and lean in close. Attention is what happens when something performs at a level that his general awareness, as infinite as it is, didn't fully prepare him for. God's attention was on you, not his passive knowing, not his distant awareness, not his casual observation, his active, focused, arrested attention. The kind of attention that produces response. The kind of attention that moves, the kind of attention that creates a record, that gets written in books, that don't deteriorate, that don't fade, that don't get revised by time or changed by circumstances. And the response, the actual response that your choices produced in him, it wasn't mild approval. It wasn't the expected satisfaction of watching a predictable outcome unfold exactly as he knew it would. It was the response that happens when the one who designed the original standard witnesses something that exceeds it. When the one who set the bar watches someone clear it by a margin. He didn't anticipate. I hear the Father saying this to you today. I hear him speaking these words over your life right now, and I need you to receive them in whatever way feels most true to you, in whatever way you are able to hold them. He is saying, I saw you, not from a distance, like someone observing from far away, not from some removed heavenly position where I was vaguely aware that something was happening. I saw you from right beside you. I was in the room where no one else was present. I was in the moment where no one else could see what was actually happening. I was standing right there when the door was closed and the lights were off and you thought you were completely alone. I saw what it cost you to stay. I saw the exact price you paid to not walk away. I saw the instant where you had every right to collapse, every justification to fall apart, every reason to say enough is enough, and I watched you choose not to. I saw the way you protected something when everything around you was giving you permission to let it go. Your faith when circumstances said there was nothing left to believe in. Your integrity when compromise would have been so much easier. The thing you were quietly being shaped into, the version of yourself that was emerging through the pressure, you protected that even when protecting it made absolutely no sense from a human perspective. I saw the restraint you practiced when retaliation was not just available but justified. I saw the silence you kept when defense was expected, when everyone would have understood if you had spoken up, when any reasonable person would have said you had the right to set the record straight. I saw you choose the narrow way, the harder path, the road less traveled, when the wide way had fewer consequences, when the easy choice was right there in front of you and you walked past it. And what I witnessed in you, what I observed in those moments when you thought no one was watching, it moved me. It genuinely moved me. Let me be specific about what God saw, because this is where most messages stay vague, and this one will not. There were 5 qualities you demonstrated in that season that heaven recognized as extraordinary. And I need you to receive this not as flattery, but as an accurate account of what was recorded. The first quality was spiritual endurance, under conditions that would have collapsed most people. Not the endurance that comes from strength. The endurance that comes from choosing to stay when leaving was the logical option. You didn't endure because you had capacity left. You endured because something in you refused to let go of what mattered, even when holding it made no sense anymore. That kind of endurance, the kind that operates past the point where human will runs out. That is what moved heaven. The second quality was restraint in the face of injustice. You had opportunities to defend yourself, to correct the narrative, to set the record straight, and you chose silence instead. Not because you were weak, because you understood something most people never learn. That vengeance belongs somewhere else, and your assignment in that moment was to trust the process, even when the process looked like loss. That restraint, when you had the right and the ammunition to fight back, that registered. The third quality was faithfulness. When faithfulness had no audience, you kept showing up when no one was counting. You maintained your integrity when no one was checking. You honored your commitments when breaking them would have been completely understandable. That kind of faithfulness, the kind that exists without recognition, without reward, without anyone even knowing it is happening. That is the kind that produces wonder in the one who is watching. The fourth quality was hope in a season designed to kill it. You didn't just survive the hard season, you maintained expectation in the middle of it. You kept believing something was coming when everything visible said nothing was moving. That hope wasn't delusional. It was defiant. And defiant hope in the middle of circumstances built to destroy it, that is a rare thing. Heaven takes note when that shows up. And the fifth quality was humility under misunderstanding. People misread you, misrepresented you, assigned motives to you that weren't true. And you didn't spend your energy correcting every wrong perception. You let people be wrong about you because you knew your validation wasn't coming from their understanding. That humility, the kind that can hold tension without needing to resolve it immediately, that can live with being misunderstood without falling apart. That is a maturity most people never reach. Now, let me ground this in something you already know is true. You know the story of Job. 42 chapters of suffering, of loss, of sitting in ash, of friends who showed up to make it worse. But here is what most people miss. Job's story wasn't about what he lost. It was about what he held while he was losing it. His integrity, his refusal to curse God, his willingness to sit in the tension of unanswered questions without abandoning his foundation. And at the end, God didn't just restore what was taken. He doubled it, not because Job deserved compensation, but because what Job became in the furnace was worth more than what he lost in it. You know the story of Moses, 40 years in the wilderness watching sheep, 40 years of formation in obscurity, 40 years of wondering if the thing he thought he was called to was ever going to actually happen. But here is what that season produced. It produced a man whose character became indestructible in exactly the ways his assignment required. The wilderness didn't waste him, it refined him. And when he finally stepped into what he was built for, he was carrying something that the palace years never could have given him. That is the pattern. Chosen one. Not because suffering is the goal, but because formation through faithfulness in the fire produces something in a person that no other process can create. You are in that pattern. You have always been in that pattern. And what is about to shift isn't a reward for what you survived. It is the natural emergence of what you became. If this is landing, if something in you is recognizing your own story in this, take 2 seconds and hit that like button, because it helps this reach other chosen ones who need to hear it. And if you feel led to support this ministry so we can keep creating content that actually speaks to what you are going through, there is a donation link in the comments. No pressure, just an invitation to be part of keeping this work going. Now, let me tell you what changes when you actually receive what I just told you. 3 specific things shift, and they shift permanently. The first thing that changes is your relationship with hard seasons. Not that they stop coming, but that you stop interpreting them as evidence that something is wrong. You understand now that difficulty isn't the opposite of purpose. It is often the location of it. The weight you carried last time wasn't proof that you were off path. It was proof that you were exactly where you needed to be for something to get built in you that easier seasons cannot build. That knowing changes how you walk into the next hard thing. The second thing that changes is how you carry silence. Seasons where nothing seems to be moving, where no answer arrives, where you cannot feel anything. Those will read differently now, not as abandonment, as preparation. You know what silence produced last time. You will not lose trust in it the next time it shows up. And the third thing that changes is how you receive yourself. You don't have to keep auditioning for your own approval. You don't have to earn your way back to a sense of worth every morning. What God recorded about you in your hardest season isn't waiting for your next performance to confirm it. It is already done. You live from it now, not toward it. Before we close, I want to do something with you. Not complicated, just something you can do from exactly where you are. In your mind, not out loud. Go to the hardest point of the season we have been talking about. The moment where everything in you wanted to quit, where holding on felt unreasonable, where you had the least reason to keep going, and you did it anyway. Find that moment. Sit in it for just a second. Now, without moving, I want you to see something you couldn't see then. In that exact moment, there was a quality of attention on you that you had no way of perceiving at the time. Not distant, not general. The specific, focused, arrested attention of the one who knows every version of you that could have existed, watching the version that showed up in that moment. Watching what you chose, what you held, what came out of you under pressure that had always been in you, but had never been visible in quite that form until then. And the response to what was witnessed wasn't patience. It wasn't mild approval. It was thaumazo, genuine divine wonder. That moment is already recorded. It is not waiting for your permission to be real. It doesn't need your agreement to have happened. It happened, it registered, and you have been carrying the weight of that season as if it was only loss, when it was also one of the most significant moments of your entire life. Let that settle differently right now. If there is something in you that wants to say yes to what you just received, if you want to anchor this moment, drop the words I passed in the comments. Not for me, not for anyone else. As a declaration, as the moment you agreed with what heaven already recorded about you. Now let me speak to who you are from here. You are a spiritual warrior. Not because you are strong, but because you held ground in the exact place where holding felt impossible. You are a cycle breaker, something that had been moving, repeating, gaining momentum through generations or through patterns you inherited. It stopped with you. You are a wounded healer. The depth of what you went through is the depth of what you now carry for others. And your understanding of suffering isn't theoretical. It is lived. You are a seer. That perception that has always made you feel different, that is your assignment, not your dysfunction. And you are the voice. The silence you kept while being misunderstood. That silence is what gives your voice its weight when it finally arrives. And it is arriving. Let me close this the way it deserves to be closed. What you carried, it was real, and it was seen. What you held, it cost you something, and it was honored. What you chose in the moments, no one witnessed. It mattered, and it was recorded. I hear the Father saying over you right now, my child, what I saw in you was not performance. It was character. What you showed me was not perfection. It was faithfulness. And faithfulness in the silence, in the waiting, in the seasons where no one was watching and no applause was coming. That is what moves me. You handled it better than you know. You have been carrying the weight of that season as loss. I am asking you to carry it as what it actually was, the foundation your future is being built on. You are not approaching something. You have already passed something. And what comes next isn't a reward for what you survived. It is the natural movement of what you became. Walk like it, because heaven already knows your name. From this moment, may what was taken be returned with increase. May what was closed begin to open. May what was silent begin to speak in a language the right people understand. May what was hidden be given its proper season in the light. May the formation of this season become the foundation of everything coming. And may you go from here not as someone who made it through, but as someone who was commissioned by the very thing that tried to stop them. Go, chosen one. Heaven already knew this about you. Now you do too.